chance when I moved out of London, which in brackets, probably the biggest mistake of my life, but I ended up in a village in Buckinghamshire that was the neighbouring village to a very famous physiotherapist called Sherry Scott. MBE. And the reason I went to visit Sherry was with my first miniature bull terrier, Molly, who was born with very small feet. In fact, bull terriers, they want them to have small feet. They're called cat feet. So they look more like a cat's foot than a dog's big Labrador kind of foot. It's different. It's kind of ready to spring up at any moment and be ready for action, you know. Anyway, her feet over time became very deformed, and she could barely walk. Her front feet was so painful. We'd, over the years, you know, I invested in going to see, you know, that referral practice in Hertfordshire. It's famous. They did plastic surgery on it, on her feet. Didn't work. Everything, this hard, crusty skin grew back more voraciously than ever. And it was just, you know, a terrible thing, a terrible thing. Bathing her feet in salt water was a daily process. And really, you know, it got me down is an understatement, Nick. So when you know, Sherry saw her feet, she said, we can fix this. And I thought, gosh, how? I've tried everything, you know, acupuncture, everything. And we used a combination actually of ultrasound on Molly's feet, because ultrasound in that context, because, you know, we all know about ultrasounds, but using actual ultrasonic waves into skin softens the skin. So it helped for the red light, in inverted commas, to penetrate through. At the time, this was 2014, summer 2014. Sherry had just taken on the vet care, and a number of her students at the TCAP college, which is what she runs in you know, TCAP, yeah, in Cuddington, in Buckinghamshire, yeah, so I bought my first vet care, and I used it every day, every day, every day. And bit by bit, the miracle happened. So this was my eureka moment. So this was the first time I'd ever used it. And it fixed Molly's feet. Molly, at this point, was 12. So she had spent the majority of her life, obviously, with feet that I'd tried, gone literally from pillar to post. She almost had shoulder surgery once, as one vet thought it was related to her shoulder. Thank God I didn't do that. Yeah. And then I remember this is so funny. Okay. I was with Sherry and I said, Sherry, and she went, yes. I said, look, can I use this on my face? Because I saw the transformation of Molly's very old, crusty, crunch, awful crust. I mean, her feet were huge, but it was all dead skin, Nick. And bit by it all came peeling off, and then underneath it revealed young puppy texture feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that hyperkeratosis in vet world, that would be called hyperkeratosis, basically where the layers of the skin get thicker and thicker and thicker because of trauma. And you're saying that you use the Photizo vet care unit to help soften the skin to allow those upper layers to gradually slough until you were left with that lovely basal puppy layer. Was that your experience?
That was totally my experience, to be honest with you. Wow, I know. Sadly, Moles had also had one of her toenails removed as a youngster. One vet thought that was a good idea because her toes were quite crumpled, you know, bent in. One of her toes would veer round. So, and Sherry was quite upset about that, actually, because it meant that she had less grip, you know, without one of her claws. So it's actually not a good idea to remove your dog's toenails. Keep them whole, and work with the whole body. You know, the whole body is meant to have all of these different assets for a different reason, you know.
The wisdom of the body, Anna, as we both know, is often, not always, but often, to to be learnt from and supported rather than countered very, very often, isn't it? Not always, but yeah, totally with you. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, no, no. I'm just gabbling really. But to explain, that's how it began, you see. And then, subsequently, I've used vet care. Molly sadly passed a year later. But she died with young feet. And that was very important to me, that I actually achieved what I tried to achieve through her life. So, but not only that, Sherry taught me so much. Hot and cold therapy, for example, the old fashioned, so I've always got a bag of peas in my freezer. I don't eat peas actually, but I've always got a bag of peas for cold, and hot, you just use a hot water bottle.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the solutions don't have to be uber,
High tech.
cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And hot and cold. That's helped my bull terrier Prudence, Molly's successor, a lot, as she's been such a clumsy idiot, putting it bluntly, through her life. The injuries, the things she's had, even suspected Alabama rot, actually, where again, big application was used there. It was absolutely awful, Nick. When was this? This would have been spring 2024. Suddenly, she got a cut on her back foot, back right.
Okay.
Yeah, and it looked a bit nasty. I photographed it, sent it to our local vet. Antibiotics were prescribed, bathing it. I'm a great fan. I don't know about you, Nick, but I love hot salt water. As like, the old fashioned age old cure all almost. I mean, it's anyway, a lot of pus was coming out, actually, that sort of freaked me out. So clear water turned brown, and which was a bit freaky. So another vet visit, another course of antibiotics. Then basically, I thought we'd fixed it after a week of antibiotics, actually. Then she ran for her ball one Sunday evening. I remember it well. And to my absolute aghast, her back leg suddenly exploded. Well, her hock exploded just underneath, her elbow, just her ankle, I should say, because the elbows are on the front, basically exploded in blood. Whoosh. And it had been dormant. It hadn't gone away. Whatever this was hadn't gone away. And it just meant, anyway, the third course of ABs, it took 3 months of constant daily bathing. I took it, well, her skin just disintegrated off.
Yeah.
She was pretty much to the bone.
Okay.
It was absolutely awful, but it didn't affect her kidneys. Obviously, we did bloods, etc., but it was pretty scary. And I'm researching about Alabama rot. Nobody really knows a lot about it, but it doesn't have to go to the kidneys to be Alabama rot. I mean, I think it was thankfully proves pretty in robust health that it perhaps didn't. Absolutely dreadful leg infection, whatever it was.
Was it actually diagnosed as Alabama rot? You had
Well, no, because they said it wasn't Alabama rot.
bacterium or something, isn't it? Something, a really fancy bacterium that's related to fish, I think, and it's quite rare, and it's seen in the New Forest and things like that.
It's everywhere, apparently, Nick.
Okay.
No. When you look at the map of Alabama rot on the Alabama rot website, it is nationwide. It doesn't. I mean, look, she got better.
The thing is, was it diagnosed as Alabama rot, or did it just look like it could be Alabama rot?
It wasn't diagnosed as Alabama rot, only on the basis it hadn't spread to the kidneys.
Okay, and so it was just a horrendous infection. And so, how did you use the Photizo therapy unit in that situation with her?
Okay, so after our saltwater soak, okay, and getting rid of loads of pus that was pouring out, I would dab it dry with, clean kitchen roll, and then just apply the vet care for as long as I possibly could. To be honest, it was so bad, about 10 minutes at a time, every day.
Right, so this is 31 seconds per unit of dose. And so you would do about 20 of those, 18, 20 of those?
About that, yeah. Well,
Okay.
it was very, very bad, and it was awfully debilitating, because we couldn't
Sure.
go for walks, and
Yeah.
our whole routine, was messed up. And then she even went on doxycycline, that antibiotic that's meant that humans get it for, is it syphilis or gonorrhea? One of them.
Don't know about humans, but you'd use it for leptospirosis and other little,
Oh, do they use it for
uh,
leptospirosis?
the funny organisms, spirochetes and the more unusual bacteria. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay. And were you using it actually on the leg, or were you
Yeah.
using it kind of at a distance from the leg,
Just
Anna?
on the leg. I was using it on the leg
Okay.
because something was quite deep inside her body.
Yeah.
Um, and, very slowly, to be fair,
Yeah.
I actually thought we might not fix it.
Yeah.
We fix it. I also actually Lucillin, actually, I know Lucillin, the
I
company
do know
Lucillin.
Listerine. Yeah.
They were absolutely brilliant. So it was Mr. Lucillin, Alan, isn't it?
Alan. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I rang them to say, "Look, please, please, can I have an urgent delivery of Lucillin?" Right? And
Yeah.
so I explained the situation, and it was Alan that actually gave me more information really than the vets, which was to keep it wet, to absolutely don't let it dry, because if it dries, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
So they sent me a massive box, almost like a pallet load of Lucillin. Then I just kept it wet,
Okay.
and so that was Prudence's, one occurrence of using the vet care. But I guess really my case study of all case studies is little Mr. Binks, who you have met, Mr. Binks.
Yes. Go on
Yes,
then. Tell me about Mr. Big. Just give us a bit of background, age, breed, sex, and what have you.
Okay, age 14 and a half, a boy, English Toy Terrier, a British vulnerable breed.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring a younger dog into the fold with Molly. As you know what they say, it can be the golden card to bring life into the older dog.
Yeah.
Very risky thing to do.
Yeah.
So I almost bought an English Toy Terrier puppy about a year earlier
Yeah.
from this breeder, but I let her down, and I think she hated me forever for having let her down on it. But I said, I just can't at the moment. Life is too crazy. I'm really sorry. Then about a year later, I got back in touch, and I said, look, I don't know if you have a slightly older dog that maybe hasn't made the grade for the show ring, or, whatever, and she said, I have just the dog. So, it was Mr. Binks, but he was then called Dexter, which I don't think really suited him. It's just me, I suppose. I do like my funny names.
Yeah.
Anyway, I asked why he was carrying his back left leg. And so she informed me that he'd been overwalked as a puppy. He was now 2, and he did that from time to time. So, I bought that until he went for his vet check when I got him. And the vet rang and said, look, Anna, what do you know about his back left leg? So I said, he was overwalked as a puppy, and he carries it quite a bit. Right. Well, actually, he's missing a hip. So I pretty much fell over, can you imagine? And anyway, look, it didn't change anything, I've kept him, and obviously it didn't make any difference to me, but I was just really worried. I said, well, how can he stand up, And, so it turns out it's got Legg-Calvé-Perthes disease. So his hip was removed at 9 months. And then obviously, as I was so near to Sherry, I took him to Sherry straight away. And Sherry said, look, don't worry. We've got the technology. Everything will be fine. And whatever you do, don't send him back, which I couldn't do because he was in a terrible state. His skin was bad. He had these big oozing. He couldn't wear a normal dog collar. He had to wear basically a very felty cat collar because he's so small, because the oozing on his neck was so bad, and he was very afraid and under socialized. I know, and he's turned into a bit of a diva, actually, Nick.
It's really good. And how did you use the Photizo on him? What did you, on his hip, or
Well, all over.
all
Just because I believe the body is a whole. So, you've got a dicky hip, it's going to affect the shoulders.
well, it's going to affect it. lumbar, which is going to affect your thoracics, the hip
Exactly.
connected to the knee bone, etc., etc. Yeah, no, totally. Well, that's really good. Just take us through. So you've got him sitting in front of you, Mr.
Yeah.
Biggs, so people can get a feel for how
Sure.
you use the Photizo vet care machine, because it's so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
It's great. Okay, so he stood in front of me.
Yeah,
So I hold him onto his chest because he's
right.
only 5 kilos. So for anyone who doesn't know his breed, he's the second smallest dog in the world. And we're on a non-slip surface. So I've got him square in front of me. So his head's over here, his
Yeah,
tail's over here. And
good.
then basically I begin with a Sherry Scott move that she taught me, which is to place the vet care in between the scapula,
Oh,
okay, for 2 blasts. And what this does, it triggers the endorphins to the brain. And
yes,
invariably, the dog, if it was a bit bouncy, will go woof and
yeah,
relax. So,
great.
absolutely, and that's what I've used on Prudence, still do all
So
her life.
that's between the shoulder blades. That's
Yeah.
an acupuncture point actually, which is
I,
which they describe as releasing wind, which is all very complicated. So don't worry about that. But it's a very very profound point. We use it for epilepsy and things like that. Okay, so he's standing there in front of us. He's facing away, and we start with the between the shoulder blades point. Okay, so where do you
yeah.
go? And you put a couple of doses there.
Yep. And then I run the vet care down each side of his spine.
Okay,
Okay. So
so
that we're
one
hitting.
one dose per block down his back. Is that right?
Yeah, I just hold it firm onto him
Yeah.
and just run it not on his spine, but just parallel to the spine down each side so
Are
that we're
you
getting.
Are you moving it as you dose, or you dose, move, dose, move? How are you doing that?
I sometimes do that, but on the whole, I will just run it right down because it stretches. He needs to be pulled back
Okay.
because his back end is weaker than it should be.
Yeah.
His whole issue, as Sherry taught me, she was like, "My dear, we have to pull him back. We
Yeah.
pull him back."
Traction.
So
Yeah.
I'm pulling him back.
Yeah.
Similarly, with massage, when we do that, I will be pulling him back so
Okay.
that his weight isn't too much at the front.
Yeah.
That so we do that. So down each side of the spine, we've warmed up all the acupressure points, and then of course I go to where the scar wound is on his back left leg of where he had the hip removed.
Okay.
He's still got
So
his scar.
up on the top of his butt cheek, if you like. Yes.
Yeah, around
Great.
about there, sort of above his knee. Um,
Okay. A little bit lower than that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
basically, you're thinking, I'm going to put light into the bit that's sore.
Sure, exactly. And then I do his thighs. We go up as high as we can. Then
Mm,
I go down. We do ankles. We do stomach 36, obviously. And these acupressure points go down his
yeah.
hock and do his foot, because
Okay.
feet are really important. I do everybody's feet.
Yeah.
Being a bit of a yoga bunny,
Yeah,
feet.
reflexology says that the feet,
Exactly,
the ears, and
exactly.
the hands really, really important in human terms.
Yeah,
So why wouldn't they be in dog terms? And
yes.
the ancient Chinese would recognize that as well. There are many points on the hand which are very important for
Mm,
shoulder and head and what have you, and very many
yes,
points, as you know, on the feet, stomach 36, etc. That are there's this reflex.
yes.
Movement. So if you're stimulating, you're putting energy in, and we know that you are putting energy in because the mitochondria require light to make sure that they've got, the ATP and all that. So modern science and traditional acupuncture and light all coming together really nicely. And the great thing for me, the great thing is it's dead easy. If it's sore, give it a go with the Fatizo.
It's a brilliant machine. I mean, look, I've used it on so many different things. I mean, then the other thing with Binks, I mean, poor little thing, right? So he did go to a home, but
Yeah,
he was sent back when he was having trouble with all of his legs. I mean, the thing is, they're a bit like Italian greyhounds, I guess, in that they are long-legged, full of energy, being a terrier, and they can break things. So
yeah,
his front left leg was. It's not on any vet records or,
yeah.
way back I checked, I couldn't find them. His leg was broken, and I don't don't know, so it was on vet records if he had any actual treatment for it.
Yeah.
So he's got a very nasty arthritic spur coming out of his wrist.
Yeah.
So this leg, and this leg trembles,
Yeah.
but it is because of nerve damage down to this messy break and allegedly no, I don't know. So it all happened before I got him. So,
Yeah.
so
And what did you see? So basically, he was skeletally pretty challenged in to the hip, the wrist, in everything in between, more or less. So what happened? What did you see, and how long did it take?
what I've seen, what he is now, Nick, is strong. He runs. He walks on four legs. He's extremely shiny. He's got a great personality. I love the breed, but I would never get another English toy because they will never be Mr. Binks.
Gotcha. Yeah. You can't. They
No, and
broke the molds once they made him, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
yes,
No, I totally understand that. Okay, so in my profession, we are pretty conservative bunch, vets, as you know. Great bunch, obviously, but fairly conservative. And there are quite a lot of vets out there who are pretty skeptical about light. They go, "Well, light is what I use in the kitchen to see
mm.
what I'm having for dinner." Okay, and they may not be quite up to speed with the modern verified peer reviewed science on near infrared and what have you. What would you say, nicely and politely and what have you, to vets who are skeptical about the use of Photizo vet care? What would you say to them from your perspective?
I think the thing is, Nick, they
Yeah.
don't really understand it,
Oh,
so they can't really argue against it. And at the end of the day, my dogs are my own dogs, so
yeah,
they're not my vet's dogs. So and also now
yeah,
compared to 10 years ago,
yeah,
there's so many red light devices out there, some good, some not so good,
yeah,
that red light, it's almost like a household thing now. It
yeah,
wasn't in 2014, but
yeah.
now I've seen on the internet you can buy these toothbrushes, right,
Oh,
that
yeah.
emit red light as you're brushing your teeth,
Yeah,
which is
I'll tell you what. I've seen cat bowls where cat gets red light from a ring of red light. Whether I'm pretty skeptical. In fact, I'm skeptical about everything, which is why I've come to near infrared and Photizo as a very good unit for delivering that near infrared in a measured dose and in a powerful, significant dose and what have you. But so yes, I am skeptical about many of the devices on the market. So I think one of the things about using red light, using an effective unit that the dog doesn't jump out of its skin every time it goes beep, or if you get a silent one. So the beauty of that is that it's almost impossible to do any harm, and therefore you can get a unit if you fancy, and you will be very unlikely to do any harm whatsoever. I'd suggest talking to your vet and just saying this is what we're going to do. And if you've got an acupuncture vet, there are some great acupuncture vets in London. Alistair Greenway and his wife, for example.
they're
But
my vets.
oh, right. Well, he's divine.
Yeah.
He's absolutely brilliant. Unit in conjunction with the acupuncture, and they'll be able to say, well, this is stomach 36, and this is the points that we use for the hips, and these are the points that we use for the shoulders, and what have you. So rather than just saying, okay, I'm going to blast a vague area, you can say, right, I'm going to move it up an inch just to see if we can't get more cover over the area that would likely include the acupuncture point, because the unit itself, I haven't got mine handy. I think I've been using it. So
Mhm.
it's fairly big, and so within that, you will most likely be able to get the acupuncture point. So you don't need to do 2 years to treat education in Beijing in order to be able to get approximately near the acupuncture point in order to be able to stimulate
Mm.
acupuncture point, as well as delivering that energy for ATP and energy metabolism.
But
So that is really good.
it is good, but it's also, for the muscles to keep them strong, Nick, as well.
Yeah,
So it's, working to just, I see it as to balance. I help All Dogs Matter, the charity, as Ruth has kindly donated two
yeah,
vet cares to the charity to be used on the dogs in their care and once they've been rehomed. So I've been working with the Frenchie, absolutely brilliant with the vet care to help just balance her, calm her. And it has so many, it's not got just one benefit. I think, we're still finding out so much more. I mean, it really works at such a deep cellular level, Nick.
so what you're saying is that you can, so people, if they've got an older dog and they've got an arthritic hip, for example, you can say, right, well, it's obvious, you can use it on the hip. But what you can do is actually you can use the unit, the vet care, on other areas in order to help with the muscle tone, with reducing general inflammation and what have you. So you can use it as a preventative, a very safe preventative, as well as a therapeutic. So that really is massively helpful. So, if just in the last couple of minutes, what would be your top three take home messages for people with regard to your experience with the vet care, Anna? What would you say? Top three?
One, believe it works. Two, know that it really does work extremely well on the skin, but not all beauty products are the same. Let me say that on a human sphere, but I've seen it, fix Molly's feet. And three, for hyperactive dogs, I'm a bull terrier, it
Yeah.
can be used as a calming tool, which is great because it's so much better than using, hardcore farmers for the purpose.
Well, that is absolutely amazing. So we are coming back in shedding light on canine health in August. We've got loads of people lined up, and so they're basically just jostling for who's going to come on next. So listen, Anna, where can people contact you and find out about your stuff?
You can go to my website, which is just Anna Webb with two B's, .co.uk. And I've got a podcast as well called A Dog's Life that streams on all platforms. In fact, Nick, you've been my guest for several times actually on
Several
there.
times, yes. This
Yeah,
is
so you
our
can tune in. It's free.
radio.
It's free
Yeah,
to subscribe to my podcast. So you can do that as well. Yeah, that's about it,
absolutely
really.
brilliant. So just say those two again, your website and your podcast.
Website annawebb.co.uk. My podcast of dogs live streams on all platforms, and I'm Anna Webb Dogs on Instagram.
There you go. That's easy peasy. Absolutely brilliant. And so, Anna Webb, you are a stalwart and of championing dogs' health, and you've been doing it for years and years and years, and you still have enormous vitality. So, whatever you're doing for your dogs, whatever you're doing for yourself, must be good stuff. We wish you all the very, very best and look forward to seeing you again.